Well, thank you. Each Friday, Gary Dick of Inside Indiana Business joins us with some of the biggest business stories of the week, and there's always a lot to talk about. He joins us now here at noon, and when we really look at things, this is a very busy time when it comes to the housing market. And there are a couple of issues, too.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. Springtime, spring has sprung, nicer weather, people getting in that mood to buy or sell a home. As we delve in this weekend on the show to the Indiana housing market, both here in central Indiana and around the state, pretty much a mixed bag, but there's one recurring theme, and that's the inventory is very tight. In fact, if you look at the numbers, there are about 40% fewer homes on the market today than there were, say, just 6 years ago. Realtor Greg Cooper tells us there are a number of implications in that situation.
Areas, we have 60% of the total houses we had in 2010, and you have more buyers now than what you had in 2010. So you have increased demand, limited supply, and it's a feeding frenzy in some places.
Yeah, what are the implications as you look at that? Some are obvious, but what are the implications?
All kinds of them. First of all, relative to buyers, you need to be certain that what you're doing is a long-term investment. If you're going to pay a premium for a house, and in many cases you are right now, this is not a 22-month investment. You need to consider and be sure that you're going to stay in that place for some period of time to recognize your dollars.
So, Matt, inventory, the big issue in the housing market, and it's not just here, it's in many spots around the state.
It's so interesting when you think about the different markets and also mortgage rates. I know we think so much about those and when is the best time to finance or refinance or who to go with. Where do things with that stand?
Well, everybody's always wondering, and you heard a few months ago, hey, rates are going to go up. In fact, they have not. If you look at where they are now, they're at a 16-month low. So those mortgage rates continue to be at an attractive level. There's tight inventory, and that means prices. If you're a seller, seller's market, prices are going to go
Great
up.
for sellers right now, not so good for buyers, right? It's always the way the cookie seems to crumble. There's also some news, when it comes to crisis communications. That's something that's becoming increasingly a big deal all around the country, all around the world, in fact. And there's a new person starting here in central Indiana at one firm, and he has a tie to the Saddam Hussein case.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think it really reflects that increased focus on crisis communication. So many stories, and with social media and so many other platforms out there now, it's a different ballgame. Bose Public Affairs Group has hired a former FBI agent, 26 years in the FBI. There he is, Jim Davis. He was an assistant in charge here in Indianapolis a number of years ago, 26 years with the FBI. He personally led the team that processed Saddam Hussein, if you can believe that, back in 2003. A lot of experience. Bose is saying, hey, this means we're going to step up our game, if you will, when it comes to crisis communications, because not a lot of people think about it from the law enforcement standpoint. Businesses are thinking about their particular business, their people, those types of things. This brings a different element, and again reflects this different evolution of crisis communications.
I've been to so many police training drills where they're out there, preparing for the worst with different tactics, and it's something you really have to do in communications too. You never want to have to use it, but it's good to have that training.
I think Bose looks at this as something, when after something happens, they can deploy their team, but also on the front end, maybe in a consulting role, to have this FBI, this law enforcement perspective for companies.
Great. All right, Gary Dick, thanks so much for joining us, and much more on all these topics and so much more coming up right here on Inside Indiana Business. It's every Sunday right here at 11 a.m. with Gary Dick and the team.